So here at Morning Coffee with the Morning Report. Good morning. How are you? I'm glad you're here and glad you joined us and we made it through. Still nothing from Iran. I'm not going to go looking for the news either because then that just gives it life. And I don't care. You know, I mean, we got to live free without, the threat of what might be. It's kind of, whatever is, and I'm just going to go be right and do what's right and do what's me, and stand up for what needs to be stood up for. And that crap, man, leave us alone with that. That's your deflection. You use that to cover up what you've done. I was talking to a buddy this morning. I was reading a program, and I was engaged in seeing reactions and putting stuff out there. We were talking about Ukraine and how Ukraine. He said Ukraine was the most crookedest, dirtiest, government country. And this information, I told him, how'd you come by that? Because we say the same thing about other countries. And he said, well, back in the 80s and 90s, I said when the Russian mob bosses and stuff got busted and was given testimony. They said that all their and everything was through Ukraine. I said, we say the same thing about Mexico. We say the same thing about Mexico. We're not looking at the elites that profit from it. The Estapos that let it in. The, elites that sit in Congress and in the White House that, profit and know about it, and Secret Service. And there's not anything that isn't technology doesn't know about. And they let it happen. And we blame, we blame Iran. We blame Mexico. We blame everybody but ourselves. I said, sure, Ukraine is corrupt, but not as corrupt as they want you to believe. They only did that to start a future war and to promote it and to get behind them and to back it off. Everything that we're seeing now was put in motion 10 to 20 years ago, if not more. And I'm starting to see that. It's all programmed, all of it. I'm starting to believe AI has run our country a lot longer, or our world a lot longer than we know. And those, I was watching a deal on the bombs that were dropping in Hiroshima and stuff like that, and how there was a hospital right next to the A-bomb that they dropped, the nuclear bomb, and it was still standing. Nobody died. The video just came across my feed, and I was like, yeah, how is that? How is nuclear fallout not a thing there? And everything else. So, don't be afraid of nuclear anything. They're using that to promote their wars and their propaganda, and that's why it was given to me, to wake me up so I would see and, yeah, screw that. Leave it alone. Let's protect America. Let's protect the children and the innocent here, the weak and the disabled, and let's quit sending all our money to Ukraine and Israel and promoting wars just so they can deflect from their pedophilia. But with that being said, here's coming to you live on that bullshit. High at 5. See you later. Toodles.